Prime Minister joins hundreds for state funeral of Hela Governor. Unitech students in the thousands converge at Eriku. PNGAIC release preliminary report into Kiunga aircrash.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Batulo.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Hundreds gathered this morning to witness the state funeral for the Hela Governor, the late Anderson Agiru. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was among members of Parliament and dignitaries who attended. Prior to that, the late Governor's casket laid in state at Parliament House.
The casket of the two-time Southern Highlands and Hela Governor was taken to the Parliament this morning for the last time. His casket was laid at the Parliament's hallway for viewing by members of Parliament, including Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, state ministers, bureaucrats and department heads, including members of the both private and public sector. Many turned up in numbers to pay their respects. Family members and close relatives of the late Hela Governor were also present this morning at Parliament. At around 11 a.m., the casket left Parliament for the St. John Guy's Indoor Stadium for the state funeral service. Hundreds packed the indoor complex to pay their last respects to a man many described as Hela's favorite son and a Southern star. Taripori MP and Finance Minister James Marape described late Agiru as a leader who wanted an equal playing field for many.
You were born a star. You lived a star. And this star will shine in the archives of our memory forever.
Tributes were read out by his brother Vincent Agiru, daughter Bowie Agiru and Koroba Kopiagu MP Philip Undialu.
And on behalf of the Organizing Committee to pay tribute to our hero, fallen hero, the man who has left a big dream behind.
He was a great father, and I'll always live up to him because he always told me to be a leader, to be strong and to be independent.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill led the laying of wreaths, followed by opposition leader Sam Basil, state ministers, members of Parliament and other bureaucrats before the public. Late Agiru's body will depart for Southern Highlands tomorrow morning before transiting to Hela. Separate funeral programs will happen over the next 3 days before his body will be laid at his home village of Daule. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Key government stakeholders in the information and communication technology sector have come together to ensure a safer cyberspace for Papua New Guineans. Whilst ICT and the use of the internet in particular are vital tools for development, the government wants to address the negative impacts. The cybercrime policy was the first step. Stakeholders are now looking at an internet filtering policy and the government internet and email policy concept.
The stakeholders gathered this morning for a combined workshop on internet filtering system and internet and email policy. It was an initiative of the Office of Censorship, the Department of Communication and Information, and the Integrated Government Information System, also known as IGIS. Minister responsible Jimmy Miring-Toro emphasized that ICT was indeed a powerful instrument in this day and age, with countries around the world embracing it as a key enabler of economic and social growth.
The use of ICT, if properly used, can be a significant tool in development of the country.
Mr. Miring-Toro said, however, that the government is mindful that the use of ICTs inevitably introduces security concerns for individuals, businesses, and the country as a whole. Secretary for the Department of Communication and Information, Paulius Koni, said the protection of our societies was important.
PNG is operating in a cyberspace. So we must do things in PNG that, as I said, will protect our society, our communities and our children and all of us.
Chief Censor Stephen Mala said the internet is such a powerful tool that our children are now even more exposed to illicit material right in their homes. He said it is a serious concern.
Our children now has been introduced to the adult world at a very early age. Every month, my office receives almost thousands of confiscated material from the post office, which are mainly sex enhancement products. That is the type of mentality we have. That is the type of society that we are now living in.
Therefore, the Censorship Office considers internet filtering a significant idea and a way forward in addressing the growing issues of pornography, human trafficking, money laundering, and other crime-related issues tied to the usage of the internet. Mr. Mala said the internet filtering system is not designed to suppress the freedom of access to information and entertainment.
The concept of filtering system that we are embarking to introduce is to ensure that we reduce the volume of illicit material that's coming through our space, our communication system.
The stakeholder workshop is among a series of activities that are expected to promote IGIS as a step forward to integrate all systems and networks for better management and protection of national information. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Accident Investigation Commission has released a preliminary report into the fatal air crash in Kiunga on April the 13th. That incident claimed 12 lives. AIC Chief Executive Officer David Inau released this report today in line with international civil aviation guidelines. The Papua New Guinea Accident Investigation Commission today released its preliminary report into the fatal air accident which claimed the lives of 12 people in Kiunga on the afternoon of April the 13th. AIC Chief Executive Officer David Inau released the report.
In the weeks since the accident, all our investigators have been involved in gathering information so that we can understand the factors behind the crash.
The report, released as per the International Civil Aviation Organization guideline of 30 days from the crash, was a crucial step for the industry, but more so for the families of those that perished in this incident. This report, which does not contain the final analysis or conclusions as to the cause of the crash, does point out some irregularities. The flight manifest contained several crossings out and reworking of figures, with the AIC still yet to determine the actual weight and balance of the flight.
The trend in the last couple of years has indicated that there's not really a concern. All operators in the country come through, apply for an air operator certificate. They have to meet all the requirements that are set by the regulator, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. And once they meet those requirements, they are issued with an air operator certificate. Now, how they conduct their activities is an issue, and it's events like this, tragic events like this, that we can go out and investigate and establish if they have been operating within the guidelines of their AOC or not. So this will come out during the investigations.
The aircraft's emergency locator transmitter, which did not activate on impact, was out of date, with the AIC report finding that the ELT was due to have been replaced by March 2016.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the deceased.
These two findings from the preliminary report are amongst a host of others which will be investigated further to determine the actual cause of the crash and hopefully bring closure to families of those that perished in this tragic incident. More than 3,000 students from the University of Technology and the National Polytechnic Institute travelled in busloads to the Eriku Oval starting at 9 o'clock this morning for an awareness meeting. Authorization for the gathering came late yesterday afternoon after lengthy dialogue between the Metropolitan Superintendent, Anthony Wagambi, and student leaders. While the meeting was allowed with strict conditions imposed by the police, members of the public have commended lay police for their approach.
This morning, students began gathering at the university car park, and like the University of Papua New Guinea, The majority wore black, signifying their protest over what they see as an assault on the country's constitutional officers. Each element of this awareness meeting was carefully chosen. The flags for diversity and unity and the female students also at the forefront of this relatively quiet protest.
Intention to me why me like much lo help him bring him this one something people to make you school but make him all mama and papa and brother sister lo house number ball can serve so ball to get idea lo one something no come up to contribute.
The students were barred from carrying anything defamatory or contemptuous in nature, including placards or any signs that could trigger court proceedings against them.
We don't know to carry out awareness because media na everything and moglo am kind of small talk boycott na direction and mulman outside on us.
This morning they were also disallowed from walking from the Taraka campus to Eriku for fear that it could trigger a riot. Instead, the SRC organized buses to take students from the university to Eriku. Again, special attention given to female students who were assigned their own buses to travel. The convoy escorted by police. This is the first time since the unrest began that Unitech is reaching out to the public. Student leaders have said this is not a protest but an awareness meeting to educate the public on national issues affecting the country and why their call for the PM to step aside still stands. All this came about after 2 weeks of meetings between student leaders and the Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi, who has been personally facilitating discussions to ensure that tensions don't escalate and spill over.
Benim law state lo country nem carry out work blem osam la policeman nem sanap me carry out law state.
Scott Wide, National MTV News, Leh.
Morobe Governor Kelly Naru this afternoon commended all stakeholders, especially students from Unitech, Polytech and the Leh Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi and Leh Police for a peaceful awareness. Naru was particularly happy with the Leh Police hierarchy for allowing the people to exercise their democratic right. He said no one should be suppressed or stopped. Naru reiterated that Morobe is a peace-loving province and he appreciated how the people reacted to the awareness that was held to discuss issues of national concern.
Our leadership is essentially all about serving. We are leaders basically as servants. And so when the bosses, who are the people, who are the students, whatever sectors of the community they may be, when they want the servants to basically go and give them the service that they deserve, I have to go. That is essentially my duty. That is essentially my call. As a servant of the people, I have to go to them so that my bosses can give me their line of grievance, and then I will channel it.
Leh Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi also commended the students and the general public in Leh who attended the awareness today. The event was carried out orderly and peacefully without any disruption. It was strictly an awareness held at the Eriku Oval, where the public attended to listen to the students.
Done within a peaceful awareness. It was not a protest. It was an awareness which was carried out today. It was not a protest which where there were no banners or there were no placards or anything taken out on the streets. People weren't allowed to walk in a group. The students were transported by school buses and the police escort over to Eriku, and we had our operation already planned, and all our police units were out in the field early in the morning, and we took strategic positions to avoid any sort of opportunities coming out to spoil this event which took place today.
Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission was unable to conduct a referendum at UPNG today due to legal issues. The Commission received a letter from the Students' Representative Council, but say they need a request from the administration. However, the SRC says it will still push for a referendum to be conducted.
UPNG SRC today spoke with MTV and said on Monday the SRC executive went to the Electoral Commission to check on the status of the referendum. The Commission then told them to get a confirmation letter from the UPNG administration. The UPNG SRC say they then met with Vice-Chancellor Albert Mellam, who confirmed that they would contact Electoral Commission for them to conduct the referendum. The UPNG administration then confirmed to the SRC that a referendum would be held today. That did not eventuate, leaving the students confused. UPNG Vice-Chancellor Albert Mellam was unable to give an interview. MTV contacted the Electoral Commission today asking why a referendum was not held. Electoral Commission said they had received a request from the UPNG SRC but will need a request letter from the university administration. They are currently receiving legal advice on whether or not to conduct a referendum at UPNG. Adelaide Sirox, Kari National, MTV News.
Among stories after the break, mass termination at Ramu Nickel Mine, Kimber Queen wreckage poses an environmental risk, and CPL's 2015 annual report. Stay with us. Welcome back to National MTV News. There has been a mass termination of Ramu Nickel Mine national workers this month. This includes the mine's National Workers Union president as well as other members of the union. President Justin Mende, on behalf of the terminated workers, said they are all grieved from the termination but will continue the fight in court. Rachel Shisei in Madang with this report.
This mass termination follows the strike early this year by the national workers following the death of a national worker on night shift at the mine site in December last year.
Majority of the laid-off employees are full union members, and the company has gone to the extreme to destabilize and kill the spirit of the union and break the spirit of the union. And they have done that with their management decisions to mass terminate employees and also lay off employees. But the laws of our country are very clear on such issues, and any investor, for that matter, who is doing business in our country should respect our laws.
The national workers petitioned the mine with 11 points during their strike early this year. The 11 points, they say, are concerns about the treatment, the safety requirements and the security measures over the term of 6 years. It is not clear at this stage as to why the national workers were terminated, but for the case of their union president, Justin Mende, he was terminated because he was attending the 5 weeks compulsory conference due to the industrial dispute and wasn't producing for the company.
The conference was sanctioned by the Department of Labor through the relevant laws of our country, and as head of the union and president of the union, I was attending the conference, and whilst I was away, I think I did not perform my duties at work, and for that reason my production target was nil. And for that reason the management sought to give me that reason as being the core reason to my termination, the private reason to my termination.
After the 5 weeks compulsory conference, which had the presence of the Mineral Resources Authority and was chaired by the Industrial Relations Labour representative, a final draft of the Memorandum of Agreement was put together, but after citing the document, the national workers didn't agree and proceeded to seek legal action against the mine, which is already underway. Rachel Shisei, National MTV News, Madang.
The MV Kimber Queen wreckage stuck at the Elizabeth Reef off the coast of Lasul Binding LLG in East New Britain Province has posed serious environmental risks to the marine environment. The MV Kimber Queen ran aground 4 months ago after encountering strong winds and rough seas. A recent assessment and inspection report from the Gazelle District Administration revealed that the wreckage contained substantial amounts of oil and fuel. The report also indicated that a prompt response from the ship's operators is needed to remove the wreckage before it goes under, allowing oil and fuel to spill into the sea. The ship's operators, Rabaul Shipping, owned by Captain Peter Sharp, have not given any indication as to when they will remove the ship. The Elizabeth Reef is an untouched natural marine environment in the Lasul Binding LLG of Gazelle District that is now under threat. The landowners will be placing compensation demands to Rabaul Shipping for any damages caused to marine life. Women of Rigo District are calling on the central and NCD governments to resolve issues around the Central Market project in Boroko, Port Moresby, and have the market completed and opened for use. These calls were made in light of concerns over the lack of market facilities available for central farmers.
The women of Rigo District in the Central Province are calling on their provincial leaders to immediately resolve issues surrounding the Central Market project in Boroko so as to have the facilities completed and open for use. They say that despite their province being closest to the nation's capital, they continue to face hardships when bringing their produce to markets in the city to sell.
There's a lot of marketing here. If there's a place for us Central Province women, you see all these things, we can display it, we can sell those things in Moresby as well.
The women highlighted the need for market facilities to be made available for them, adding that central farmers are often intimidated and harassed by persons of other ethnicities at existing markets in Port Moresby.
I see that the farmers are harassed in the marketplaces, and when they go to certain markets they are pushed around, and so that Central Province market should cater for Central Province people.
The women concerned made these calls at the recently held Rigo Women in Business Expo in Quickila. Farmers in the area are of the view that the Central Market project will allow for them to market their goods in a safe and secure environment. These sentiments were also shared by those in the arts and crafts sector.
We really want to expose ourselves so that we really want to have a good market.
The Central Market project was first opened by former Governor of Central Province, Alphonse Maroy, and NCD Governor in October of 2011. This project has since been abandoned, prompting the women to voice their concerns. Sashipe Silovo, National EMTV News.
The Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, under its Consumer Protection Division, have taken steps to further address food labelling and product safety in Papua New Guinea. These steps include bans on non-English labelled products and certain baby prams and strollers. At a news conference today, the ICCC once again warned consumers to be wary of purchasing dangerous items.
Comparatively cheaper than established brands, packaged imports have become relatively popular in Papua New Guinean homes. PNG, like many other developing countries, does not have stringent requirements and standards for consumer goods, and in the absence of such standards, certain products can be harmful to consumers if not policed against.
You have some products that are in foreign label, but they also have English interpretation of those. So those products are fine because they meet the requirement of the ban. But those that are purely in foreign language and do not have those 5 requirements spelled out in English would be covered under the requirement of the ban. And as Commissioner has pointed out, as part of our enforcement, we'll be looking out for those products.
The ICCC placed an interim ban on non-English label food products on March 31st of this year, and the ban will remain for 18 months until the 17th of September 2017. The interim ban requires that all food products must be labeled clearly, and the ingredients, name of packer, distributor importer, address of the packer, country of origin and net weight must be labeled in English to ensure that consumers have access to basic product information.
We can't be seen as a dumping ground by some countries. And Papua New Guinea is not a dumping ground for all these things to be dumped here. Now we are struggling here trying to stop everything, but we are struggling. But we need a total commitment from the people of this country. Stand up, tell them whoever is selling us, tell him, what is this? Why do you have to sell us in our country?
If business houses fail to comply with these requirements, the ICCC will not hesitate to prosecute businesses selling banned products. Leanne Gerari, National EMTV News.
2015 was a tough year for Papua New Guinea's largest retailing network, City Pharmacy Group. Revenue growth started well for the company in the first quarter, but was stifled in the second half due to the fire at Waigani Central. The group's net profit after tax was 6.56 million kina, a drop from the previous year's net profit of 6.91 million kina.
CPL Group's financial figures for the 2015 year were released recently, citing highlights as well as challenges in revenue growth. In his statement, CPL Group Chairman Mahesh Patel said revenue growth was affected when part of Waigani Central went up in flames. As Waigani Central was the group's largest volume outlet, the devastation affected their new growth plans and had a negative impact on profitability. Net profit after tax for the parent company was 7.35 million kina, a drop compared to the 7.55 million kina in 2014. The group net profit after tax was 6.56 million kina, also a drop from the 6.91 million kina earned in 2014. On a brighter note, group net assets increased from 113.25 million kina to 116.13 million kina due to consolidation of the hardware house business, and sales increased from 401.11 million kina to 462.08 million kina. Highlights included the full acquisition of the hardware house business as a 100% subsidiary of CPL. Jacks of PNG opened 2 new outlets, and the airport duty-free outlets was also opened. Mr. Patel is confident of CPL's turnaround in 2016. Already, their new Stop and Shop outlet at Koki opened recently, while the one at Harbour City is scheduled to be opened soon. There are also talks that Stop and Shop Waigani Central will be reopened this year. CPL Group has now established 7 retail brands, including City Pharmacy, Stop and Shop, Hardware House, Bon Cafe, Paradise Cinema, Jacks of PNG, and Proud's Duty Free. Delhi Waigeno, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina opened unchanged at $0.3165 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3090 $0.4164 Australian dollars, €0.2687 euro, and 33.52 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copra closed lower, while gold, coffee and cocoa closed a day higher. Palm oil, crude oil and copper closed a day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 222 points higher, the ASX closed 28 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 29 points higher. Still to come on National EMTV News, decision pending for 13 soldiers, and police investigations continue into the Markham massacre. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The decision on a no-case submission involving 13 PNGDF soldiers who were charged for mutiny will be handed down tomorrow. This follows an application filed by lawyers for the 13 accused. Justice Penwell Mogish adjourned his decision to tomorrow on the grounds that there were over 20 documents he has to go through before a ruling can be made.
The matter was heard at the Bomana District Court today. The 21-day trial began last Monday until a no-case submission was filed yesterday. The filing of the no-case submission means the 13 soldiers are asking the courts to find them not guilty because of the lack of evidence presented so far by state lawyers. The 13 soldiers were arrested and charged for 8 counts of mutiny and misconduct in December 2015. The charges came after they failed to abort an operation in Hela, Southern Islands, following directions from their supervisors. On March 15th this year, the 13 accused were granted 2,500 kina bail under strict conditions by Justice Alan David. Last week, Judge Mogis withdrew the 4 counts of misconduct charges against all 13 because the same sets of facts were used in the mutiny charge. The 13 will return tomorrow to hear the outcome of their no-case submission. If the court rules in their favor, the mutiny charges will be dropped. But if the court refuses the submission, the trial will continue until a final decision is reached. Kiunga, National EMTV News.
Morabe police are still collecting statements from both factions involved in a clash in the Markham district 2 weeks ago where 10 people were killed. Provincial Police Commander Chief Superintendent Augustine Wampe said everyone involved in the clash will be arrested and charged. A post-mortem of the 10 bodies will be done to determine if they were shot.
Leaders from the two groups involved in the fighting have agreed to lay down arms and allow peace back into their community. The leaders will negotiate with their respective communities to make sure normalcy is restored. Police are still monitoring the area. The situation is quiet, but there is still high tension between the two communities involved. Last Friday, provincial authorities and police met with community leaders. The leaders agreed to begin negotiating for peace. They want the police to carry out a full investigation to bring those responsible to face justice, including the 5 students from Macam Valley High School whose actions triggered the fighting. The fighting is understood to have started after a confrontation between 2 students and a drink seller. The intoxicated student from Macam Valley High School had demanded the seller to give him another free can. It was there that the fighting escalated when relatives of the seller and the student joined in the fighting. Clashes between various groups are common, and Morobe province has seen some of the worst fighting in the last 2 years in various parts of the province. In 2014, an ongoing clash between 2 villages in Pindu claimed 3 lives, including that of a policeman. Some of the clashes are fueled by alcohol. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Ley.
There is a great need for increased access to family planning services among the youth of PNG. With the rapid growth of PNG's population and the significant portion of the country's youth starting families at a young age, information and services on family planning interventions need to be made more accessible and youth-friendly throughout the country. Sasha Pesilovo with this report.
The provision of family planning services needs to be more youth-friendly to allow for more young people to be empowered to exercise their rights to have access to family planning information and services.
Planning when to have the first child is so incredibly important, and that means making family planning accessible to young people.
Marie Stopes PNG, through their Rights at Every Level project, are working to support health providers in ensuring that requirements in the National Family Planning Policy are put into effect.
In current PNG society, there's a lot of people that seem to think that family planning is only for married people and only for people that have an existing family. The National Family Planning Policy tells us that this is not true. It is also very important for young people to think about family planning and plan their first pregnancy and any pregnancy that comes after that.
Misconceptions surrounding family planning continue to pose challenges for the effective delivery of family planning services in Papua New Guinea.
And the misconceptions come in many different forms, thinking that it's a new thing altogether. So we receive a lot of resistance from the public.
So go see a health worker or go see someone at Marie Stopes and find out what the facts are about family planning before you make up your mind about whether it is a good thing or a bad thing.
Sasha Pesilovo, National EMTV News.
The Catholic faithful have gathered in Kiunga, New Ireland, to celebrate the 25 years of Bishop Ambrose Kiapseni as a local bishop. Bishop Ambrose was the first Papua New Guinean ordained as a bishop for the local diocese of Kiunga and Lorengau. He comes from the religious order of the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart, or MSC. Fabian Hakalitz is in Kiunga and filed this report.
Now, celebrations of the 25 years of Silver Jubilee for the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Kiunga, Lorengau, Ambrose Kiapseni, has begun. Faithfuls from the diocese, including other dioceses and visitors, have gathered here in Kiunga in thanksgiving to commemorate this special event in the life of the church. It began this morning with the Holy Eucharistic celebration of Thanksgiving, led by Bishop of Wabeck Diocese and chairperson of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, Arnold Orawai. Rabaul Archbishop Francisco Panfilo and other bishops from other dioceses like Bougainville Diocese Bernard Unubali were also present to witness this special occasion.
And let that speak it for itself. Let the good news, let the thank you speak for itself. And I think I'm proud to celebrate with him his silver jubilee because me look because I'm senior player.
Rabaul Archbishop Francisco Panfilo read a letter from the Holy See, Rome, congratulating Bishop Ambrose Kiapsini for his 25 years of silver jubilee as a bishop. Bishop Ambrose Kiapsini from Lear in New Ireland was consecrated as a diocesan bishop on May 12, 1991. The actual celebration will be tomorrow. In Kiunga, New Ireland Province, Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The Kokopo District Development Authority and the Kokopo Vunamami LLG in East New Britain Province have been replaced by a new entity, the Kokopo District Authority. The new board members of the authority were sworn into office last week to mark the start of work to transform Kokopo from a town into a city. This follows a government bill passed in Parliament in 2015, declaring Kokopo as PNG's fourth city. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
The previous Kokopo District Development Authority simply had its old name removed and replaced with a new one, the Kokopo City Authority. Its functions remain the same.
That the former DDA has been repealed by Parliament for Kokopo District, replacing it with the City Authority. The authority retains the same function as the former Joint District and Budget Priorities Committee and later being the District Development Authority.
The authority will be led by Kokopo Open member Eramanto Binding Jr. as the chairman, joined by the other 9 members of the Kokopo district. Last Friday, the new members of the board were sworn into office. Their primary role is to oversee and maintain the efficient and economical performance of the authority's operation, the upgrading of water supply and sanitation, garbage collection and general cleanliness of the town.
The district, through the provincial administration, will be coming up with the structure that will be endorsed through the Provincial Executive Council and again through the Department of Personnel Management through the provincial and local level government for approval.
Kokopo used to be a small urban town managed by the Kokopo Vunamami local level government. The twin eruption of Mount Vurvur and Vulcan volcanoes in 1994 brought Rabaul, the former provincial capital of East New Britain, to its knees and forced the provincial government headquarters to be relocated to Kokopo, making it the new provincial capital. And until recently, it got recognition from the government as the province gradually becomes a tourism hotspot. There are perceived advantages of having this authority in place, better services, but most importantly, to put the town on the right path to be transformed into PNG's 4th largest city. Now that is a big task for the board members, and in the coming weeks they will be discussing how to make that happen. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Trukai Sports is next. Solomon Islands wins the bid to host the 2023 Pacific Games. We'll have that story and more when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Minister for Sports Justin Chachenko has praised PNG's National Rugby League side after their narrow 2-point win over the Fiji Bati. He said there are big plans ahead for PNG Rugby Football League and the Kumals in particular.
I am so happy. I'm so happy with the success of the Kumals beating Fiji. It couldn't happen to a nicer country, Fiji, for us to beat them, especially after 16 years. Very happy, Minister, and I'm sure all of PNG is rejoicing finally beating Fiji. It doesn't matter if it's 2 points, a win is a win, and the boys fought very, very hard. Very hard. and that was a fantastic game, and it's going to be the start of many more games to come. I mean, it's taken us 4 years to get to this stage for rugby league to finally get the Kumals back on track.
Solomon Islands has won the bid to host the 2023 Pacific Games. The Pacific Games Council's General Assembly voted in favor of the Melanesian country by 1 vote over French Polynesia, which also lost out to Tonga in the final vote for the 2019 Games. Both delegations made their final presentations in Port Vila on Wednesday, today. The Solomon Islands government had promised to build a new national stadium in Honiara if it won the hosting rights. President of the Pacific Games Council, Vidya Lakan, says the Solomons had a high-powered delegation to push for their case. Solomon Islands will be the 8th country to host the full Pacific Games after Fiji, New Caledonia, Papua New Guinea, French Polynesia, Samoa, Guam and Tonga. Vanuatu's Prime Minister Charlotte Siwai conveyed the support of his government during the opening of the Pacific Games Council General Assembly in Port Vila yesterday. He also extended an invitation to council members attending the assembly to visit the venue for the Games. Australia and New Zealand were also welcomed for the first time as observers. Both countries will compete in 2 sports in Vila next year and 8 sports for the 2019 Pacific Games in Tonga. The 2 countries also competed in 4 sports at the 2015 Pacific Games here in PNG. After yesterday's announcement of the nominees for the 2016 SP Sports Awards, the public has been urged to vote for the People's Choice Award. This specific category allows people to vote from 4 specific categories, which include Male and Female Athletes of the Year, Team of the Year, and Best Sporting Performance.
The 3rd year that the People's Choice Award will be awarded at the SP Sports Awards, and we're very excited about this award because it gives the public the opportunity to vote directly on who they feel should be the winner for this award, hence the name, of course, People's Choice Award. We're also very excited because in 2016...
In cricket, Leigh Seniors claimed the Trans Highway Cup last Saturday after defeating Leigh Juniors in the grand final by 9 wickets at the Showground Oval in Leigh. Batting first, Leigh Juniors were bowled out for 83 after 17 overs. In reply, the Leigh Seniors had no trouble chasing the small total, surpassing the target and losing just 1 wicket in 11 overs. Leigh Juniors qualified for the grand final after defeating Madang in the semi-final the match before by 105 runs. Present at the tournament as part of Cricket PNG's talent identification program, high-performance manager and former PNG hero Hebo Baramandi captain Rarua Dikana observed, and he said the tournament was a success. You're watching Trukai Sports. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In football, the New Zealand All Whites will head to Brisbane for a 10-day camp in preparation for the OFC Nations Cup with 3 friendly games against Queensland clubs. It will be the start of a 20-day build-up to the crucial Oceania Confederation tournament in Papua New Guinea. The squad trains from Monday to Friday in Auckland next week, with the final 23-man squad to be named on Thursday. From Brisbane, they'll head directly to Port Moresby on May the 25th, with their opening match against Fiji 4 days later. Head coach Anthony Hudson has said his side is eager to win the Nations Cup, and this is the exact preparation needed leading up to PNG. Minister for Sports Justin Chechenko reconfirmed the government's commitment towards the successful hosting of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Chechenko recently visited the FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland, to sign on behalf of the government their commitment towards the World Cup.
Chechenko stressed that it's not easy hosting a world event.
You have to tick all the boxes. You have to make sure that security, safety, facilities, health, well-being, transport are all covered.
The government has committed 20 million kina to the hosting and upgrading of venues for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup.
That is the 2 mini stadiums, 5,000 seat capacity each, which all those fields will be irrigated with professional sprinkler systems and water tanks. And then there's the other 15 other ovals that will be upgraded to FIFA compliance.
Chachenko says with school fields and sporting venues being upgraded for the World Cup, this will leave a lasting legacy which will allow PNG to host other international events.
Especially for all the schools. Because we're upgrading all the ovals on the schools are going to have some fantastic new ovals and sporting facilities available to them. So really good. And so we're not only doing it at our sporting facilities, but also incorporating all our different primary schools and secondary schools as well involved in upgrading their sports facilities at the same time.
Chachenko encouraged people to come out and support the PNG Under-20 team during the World Cup.
They're the underdogs, that's understandable, but with the country behind them and with our people behind them, they can make some big upset matches. I'm sure they can.
Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
The US Under-20 women's national team will travel to Papua New Guinea on May the 21st for a training camp and matches that will serve as a valuable test run for the Women's World Cup later this year. USA will play 2 matches during the trip, facing Japan and PNG. Both matches will be in the capital of Port Moresby, where all 32 matches of the World Cup will be staged over 4 venues. This will be the 8th FIFA Women's World Cup for this age level, with the first 2 being held as Under-19 events. The USA will face France, New Zealand and Ghana in Group C of the tournament. Trukai Sports ends here. We'll have the weather details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
A look at the weather forecast over the next 24 hours in the southern region. It's fine and dry. Tumomase, mostly fine in Leiwau and Madang. A shower or 2 in Wewak, fine weather in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kimbe and Buka, and some rain in Kokopo and Rabaul as well. Finally, in the Highlands region, all major centres to expect fine weather with morning fog. Before we go, recapping our top stories for tonight. Prime Minister joins hundreds for the state funeral of Hela Governor, the late Anderson Agiru. Unitech students in their thousands converge at Eriku Oval, and the PNGAIC releases preliminary report into Kiunga air crash. And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Wednesday the 11th of May. On behalf of the EMTV News team, I'm Meribot Tulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.